She thought it was just a personal emergency. A shy girl, a hospital visit, and a mysterious doctor who seemed too perfect. But what if your entire life was a lie? What if your identity was programmed? And your destiny designed in a lab? Stick around, because what starts as an awkward ER visit spirals into a chilling race against a secret experiment, buried memories, and a facility that should not exist. Trust me. You will not believe who she really is. Before we dive into this mind-blowing story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you never miss a single moment of our powerful, life-changing content. Don't forget to like and share, because this is more than just entertainment. Every story we tell carries a meaningful lesson that can inspire, uplift, and even change the way you see the world. Let's grow, learn, and feel the impact, together. The hospital air was sharp with antiseptic. Cold fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Mira clutched her jacket tighter, her fingers trembling. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment. She wished she could disappear into the worn fabric of the waiting room chair. Nurses bustled by in pale blue scrubs. Phones rang. Monitors beeped. Someone nearby coughed, a wet, heavy sound that made her flinch. Her name was called. She stood too quickly. The room tilted slightly before her vision steadied. Eyes lowered, she followed the nurse down the hallway. Every step echoed in her ears. Her heartbeat pounded louder with each stride. The ER hallway stretched like a tunnel. Posters about hand-washing and flu season lined the walls. The scent of latex gloves mixed with disinfectant. The nurse gestured to a room. Mira stepped inside. Sterile. Bright. A small table with shiny instruments. A bed covered in stiff white paper. "Doctor will be with you shortly," the nurse said. Mira nodded without looking up. She sat. Her legs dangled above the floor. The paper crinkled under her. She stared at the floor tiles, counted the specks in the linoleum to distract herself. The door opened behind her. She did not look up. "Good evening," came a smooth, warm voice. She turned her head, and froze. He was tall, dressed in a fitted white coat. Not too young. Not old either. His jaw was sharp, eyes calm, deep, unreadable. Mira swallowed hard. She could not find her voice. He looked at the clipboard, then at her. Their eyes met. Something flickered in his expression. Recognition. Or something close. "I am Dr. Laren Hart," he said. His voice was steady, but his gaze lingered on her face. Just a second too long. She nodded. Her throat was dry. He scanned her chart. His eyebrows lifted slightly. "Any pain?" he asked gently. Her face flushed deeper. She tried to explain. The words tangled in her mouth. She could barely whisper. "It is, kind of personal." His expression remained neutral, but his eyes softened. He took a step closer. "I understand," he said. "There is no judgment here." Her chest tightened. She could not believe this was happening. Not just to be in this situation, but with a man like him. He reached for gloves. Snapped them on. The sound jolted her. He noticed. "I will only examine what is necessary," he assured her. His voice was calm, almost soothing, yet something in it made her stomach flutter. He began the exam. Professional, respectful. But then his hand paused. Just briefly. She noticed the stillness. He drew in a breath. His eyes flicked to hers. A flicker of emotion passed through them. She blinked. Did she imagine it? Did he just hesitate? He cleared his throat. Continued with clinical precision. But his silence had changed. She sensed it. An energy in the room that had not been there before. He finished. Removed the gloves. Turned to wash his hands at the small sink. "You are going to be okay," he said. But his voice was lower now. Almost conflicted. He dried his hands slowly. Then looked at her again. "Mira," he said, testing her name on his tongue. "I think we have met before." Her pulse jumped. I do not think so." But he smiled. Not smug. Not flirtatious. something more complicated. He reached into the file cabinet behind him, pulled out a sealed envelope, handed it to her. "Someone left this for you last year," he said. "It was meant to be delivered. If you ever came here." Her fingers trembled as she took it. The envelope was pale pink, her name written in looping, delicate script. She opened it slowly. Inside, photograph of herself, much younger, standing next to a tall woman in hospital scrubs, smiling. The woman's eyes were identical to Dr. Hart's. She looked up at him, confused, speechless. He nodded as if he had been waiting for this. "For years," he said, "I searched." The fluorescent lights buzzed louder. Or maybe it was the blood rushing in her ears. What is this?" she whispered. But he did not answer. Instead he walked to the door, placed his hand on the knob. "There is more you need to know," he said. "But not here." He opened the door. Outside the hallway was quiet now. Too quiet. As she stepped off the exam bed, her legs felt unsteady. The photo still in her hand. The image burned into her mind. And behind it, something else. Note. Just 3 words, written in the same delicate script. "Find the truth." Myra's fingers closed around the note. Her pulse thundered in her ears. She looked up. Dr. Hart was gone. The hallway stretched empty before her. No footsteps, no voices, just the soft hum of machines in the distance. She stepped out slowly, the photo in one hand, the note in the other. The nurse at the station looked up, but said nothing, just nodded, as if this was expected. Mira reached the exit. The glass doors slid open with a hiss. Cool night air rushed over her skin. She stood still on the pavement, the hospital behind her, the world ahead unfamiliar and sharp. Under the streetlight she turned the photo over. Date. 12 years ago. A place. Harlow Ridge Clinic. She had never heard of it. Not in her town. Not anywhere she remembered. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. "Do not go home yet." The voice was deep, firm, calm. "Who is this?" Was. "The note in your hand. It was meant for this moment." Her grip tightened. Eyes darted across the parking lot. "Nothing." "What do you mean?" she asked. The voice continued. "You were never meant to live the life you did." "What?" Her knees went weak. She leaned against the railing. "You were placed with a different family for a reason," the voice said. "But the truth is starting to surface. And that doctor, he is part of it." Her breath caught. Laren Hart. Longer pause. Yes. And so am I." The call ended. No goodbye. Just silence. She stared at the phone. Her reflection stared back from the dark screen. A million questions crowded her mind. But her heart whispered one thing louder than the rest. She was not safe. She looked down at the photo again. Her own eyes wide and smiling. The woman beside her. Familiar now. Not from memory, but from dreams. Mira remembered the face. Not from childhood, but from a recurring nightmare. The woman always stood behind glass. Always reaching. Always screaming. But no sound ever came. Now, that same face smiled from the photograph. A new memory surfaced. Faint. Fleeting. The smell of roses. Piano playing a lullaby. Scream. Flash of white. And darkness. Mira clutched the note tighter. Her eyes scanned the lot once more. A sleek black car idled by the curb. Windows tinted. Engine running. She took a step forward. Then stopped. Someone inside was watching her. She could feel it. The driver's side window rolled down slowly. Just enough for her to see a pair of eyes. Dark. Unblinking. Fixed on her. A gloved hand reached out. Holding something. A second envelope. Identical to the first. Mira hesitated. Her instincts screamed to run. But something deeper pulled her closer. She stepped toward the car. The night air thickened. The engine purred like a predator waiting. She took the envelope. The hand withdrew. The window slid back up without a word. Before she could speak, the car sped away. Silent. Smooth. She stood alone again under the street lamp. Her hands shook as she opened the envelope. Inside, another note. No handwriting. Just one line. She never died. Her breath caught in her throat. The air seemed to vanish. She looked at the photo again. The woman beside her. The one who had supposedly died when Mira was a baby. Her mother. But if she was alive, then who had raised her? Why had they lied? Her phone buzzed again. Text this time. Room 217. Rosehill Rest Home. Midnight. No name. No explanation. Her heart pounded. Rosehill was just a few miles out of town. A crumbling care facility on the edge of a forest. She had passed it a dozen times growing up. Never paid attention. Never guessed what might be inside. She glanced back at the hospital. Now. Too still. She made a choice. She climbed into her car. Turned the key. Headlights cut through the night. The road to Rosehill was narrow and cracked. Trees lined either side like watchers. Their branches clawed at the moonlight. The rest home loomed ahead. Silhouette of decay. Windows boarded. Paint peeling. Yet one light was on. Stairs. Second floor. Far end. Park. Swallowed her fear. Approached the rusting doors. They creaked open before she touched them. A faint scent of roses and mildew hung in the air. The lobby was dark. Silent. Except for the soft ticking of an old grandfather clock. No reception desk. No staff. Only shadows. She stepped inside. The door closed behind her with a final thud. Her phone screen lit the path ahead. Cracked tiles. Dusty air. Faded wallpaper with floral patterns. She found the stairs. They groaned beneath her weight. Each step felt heavier. Each breath louder. She reached the second floor. The hallway stretched long and dim. Door after door. All closed. Except one. Room 217. The door stood slightly ajar. Light spilled into the hallway. Pale and flickering. Her hand reached for the knob. Fingers trembling. Heart pounding like war drums. She pushed the door open. And froze. The room was bathed in dim yellow light. A single lamp flickered on a nightstand. The walls were lined with faded photographs. Old books stacked in corners. A faint smell of lavender and something older, like dust sealed in time. In the center of the room sat a woman, back straight, hands folded neatly in her lap. Her silver hair coiled into a loose bun. She turned her head slowly. Eyes met Myra's. Dark. Wait. Far too alive to belong to someone forgotten. Mira, the woman said. Her voice was soft, cracked at the edges, but unmistakably familiar. Myra's breath caught in her throat. She took a step forward. Do I know you? The woman nodded. Her smile trembled. You knew me once. Then her eyes narrowed. They told you I was dead, didn't they? Mira nodded, unable to speak. I am not, the woman said. And I never was. She gestured to the chair across from her. Mira sat, her legs like ice. They buried a body, the woman continued. But not mine. She leaned closer. They faked everything. Who? Mira whispered. The woman's hands tightened on her lap. The man you met tonight. Dr. Laren Hart. Mira blinked. No. He helped me. The woman's expression darkened. He is more than a doctor. He is part of the group that took you from me. Mira shook her head slowly. I do not understand. The woman reached beneath her blanket, pulled out a thin folder, marked with an official seal. She handed it to Mira. Her fingers shook. Inside, photos, documents, birth certificates. One stamped classified. The top page bore Myra's name, but the surname was different, unfamiliar, not the name she grew up with. What is this? She whispered. The woman's eyes shimmered. It is your real identity. A silence fell, heavy, unrelenting. Then a sudden knock. Dark. 3 quick raps on the door. Both women froze. The woman's voice dropped to a whisper. You need to leave. Now. Myra's pulse surged. Her fingers clutched the folder. Another knock. Louder. The old woman stood. Her strength returning in an instant. She moved to the closet and opened a hidden panel. A narrow tunnel behind it. Dark. Cramp. Go, she said. No matter what you hear, do not come back for me. Myra hesitated. Her heart screamed in protest. The doorknob turned slowly. Someone was coming in. The woman met her eyes one last time. Trust no one with a white coat. Then she pushed Myra into the passage. And shut it behind her. Darkness swallowed everything. Except the pounding of Myra's heart. And the truth she carried under her arm. Myra crouched in the tunnel, swallowed by blackness. The air was thick, stale, laced with the scent of rust and rot. Each breath burned her throat. She pressed a hand against the narrow wall to steady herself. Behind her, the muffled sound of the door creaking open. Voice. Not hers. Not the woman's. Low. Controlled. Will. Where is she? Silence. No response. Myra's heart pounded so loud, she was sure they could hear it through the walls. Her fingers trembled around the folder. She moved forward inch by inch. The tunnel dipped slightly. Cold air whispered across her skin. Somewhere ahead, a faint blue light flickered. Behind her, the voice rose. No longer calm. You lied to me. Again. Crash. Something heavy struck the wall. The woman's voice, faint, defiant. She knows now. You cannot undo it. Then a sound Myra would never forget. Sharp gasp, followed by silence. Myra bit her lip to keep from crying out. Tears burned her eyes, but she kept moving. The light ahead grew stronger. At last, the tunnel opened into a small, forgotten chamber. Concrete walls. A rusted ladder leading upward. She climbed. Each rung moaned under her weight. The top edge, heavy. She pushed. Did not budge. She braced her back. Pushed harder. With a loud groan it lifted. Fresh air surged in. She climbed out into the open. She was in a cemetery. Gravestones crooked and crumbling under moonlight. Trees bowed like old sentinels. She turned to close the hatch. And froze. A small plaque on the ground beside it. Weathered. Barely legible. Name. Her birthday. And below it. Died age 3. She staggered back. Cold fingers of realization gripped her spine. Someone had declared her dead. She had been erased. A new sound cut through the night. The step. Fast. Deliberate. Someone was coming. She clutched the folder to her chest. Turned. Then. Down the hill. Through the headstones. Crossed the fence line. The folder beat against her ribs with every step. Each page inside now a weapon. Curse. She did not know who to trust. Not anymore. But she knew one thing with terrible clarity. Her life had never been hers to begin with. Branches tore at her arms as she pushed through the underbrush. The night pressed close, thick with damp earth and distant thunder. Leaves whispered warnings in the wind. She stumbled down a slope, breath ragged, feet slick with mud. A root caught her ankle. She fell hard. The folder skidded across the ground. She scrambled after it, hands scraping against stone and moss. Snatched it up. Held it tight, like it was the only real thing left in the world. Somewhere behind her. Voice. Far away but growing closer. Stop running, Myra. Her blood froze. She knew that voice. Too smooth. To come. Dr. Laren Hart. She ran faster. Branches cracked. Twigs snapped underfoot. Her legs ached. Her lungs burned. A shape loomed in the dark. Fence. Iron. Topped with jagged spikes. She scanned for a gap. Found none. He was getting closer. She could hear him now. Each footstep deliberate. Confident. Desperate, she scaled the fence. Metal tore into her palm. She hissed in pain but did not stop. Pulled herself over. Dropped to the other side. Her knees buckled. She hit the ground hard. But she was up again in seconds. Behind her, the sound of metal rattling. He was climbing too. She bolted down a narrow trail, half forgotten, winding through dark trees. The lights of the city shimmered faintly in the distance. Too far. Headlights. Car. Parked on a side road. Engine idling. Driver's door open. No one in sight. She ran to it, yanked the door wider. Keys still in the ignition. No time to question. She jumped in. Slammed the door. Locked it. Started the car. Tires kicked up gravel as she tore away from the woods. In the rear-view mirror, a figure stepped out from the trees. White coat fluttering. Face expressionless. Watching her vanish into the night. She drove for miles without looking back. Only when the lights of the city swallowed her did she finally exhale. She pulled into an empty lot behind a closed diner. Cut the engine. Sat in the dark. The folder lay in her lap. Heavy with secrets. And inside, one final document she had not yet opened. She reached for it. Unfolded it slowly. Her fingers numb. It was a letter. Dated 15 years ago. Signed in a name she did not recognize. But the last line made her blood run cold. Subject exhibits stable behavior. Memory suppression appears successful. Reassignment to Family Unit B9 complete. Monitoring will continue under Program LUX. Mira stared at the paper. Her heart slowed. She was not just stolen. She was studied, engineered, altered, and someone somewhere was still watching. The realization hollowed her from the inside out. She sat in the driver's seat, hands limp on the wheel. The letter trembled in her lap. Outside the world seemed unchanged. Neon signs flickered. A breeze rattled a stray soda can across the lot. But inside her, everything had shifted. She was not Mira Dawson. Not fully. Not naturally. Whatever Program LUX was, it had owned her life from the beginning. She leaned her head against the steering wheel. A low, involuntary laugh escaped her lips. It sounded foreign, broken. Her phone buzzed again. Text this time. They will erase you if you stop running. You must come to where it began. The place they called Helix. Attached was a pin drop. Coordinates. Somewhere far north. Deep in the mountains. She checked the fuel gauge. Quarter tank. Barely enough. She opened the glove box, searching for anything. Map. Clue. Anything. Instead she found a small flash drive. No label. Just cold metal. It had not been there earlier. She had checked. She was sure. Her reflection stared back at her in the rearview mirror. Eyes wide. Lips pale. No longer a stranger. But no longer someone she recognized either. She turned the flash drive over in her fingers. Then pulled out her laptop from the passenger seat. Plugged it in. A single folder appeared. Luxembourg. She clicked. Recordings. Dozens of them. All labeled by date. Most from years ago. She played the first one. Soft beep. Then a voice. Familiar. Worse. But younger. Terrified. Crying. I want to go home. Please stop. Please. Another voice cut in. Clinical. Patient M42 entering second memory suppression cycle. Emotional resistance is elevated. Sedation recommended. Static crackled. Then silence. She slammed the laptop shut. Her stomach churned. Nausea curled in her throat. She had been a test subject. Not a daughter. Not a girl with a shy smile and dreams. File. Number. Controlled experiment. The car suddenly felt too small. Too tight. She shoved the door open and stumbled out into the night air. Stars stared down without mercy. Unblinking. Distant. Her phone buzzed one more time. No words. Just an image. A compound nestled in snow-covered peaks. Barbed fences. Security towers. And a gate marked with a symbol. A spiral inside a triangle. Mira had seen it before. On the envelope. On the hospital badge. On the seal in the folder. Helix. The place they called Helix. Where her life had been taken. And where it might finally be taken back. She slid back into the car, set the coordinates, and drove toward the unknown, toward the truth, toward the place they never expected her to find. She was not running anymore. She was hunting. The road stretched ahead like a ribbon of shadow. Pines loomed on either side, black against the starless sky. The air grew colder with every mile, the kind of cold that crept beneath your skin and stayed there. Myra's hands gripped the wheel, knuckles pale. She drove without music, without thought. Only the whisper of tires on asphalt and the hum of her thoughts. The folder sat on the passenger seat, still open. Pages rustled gently in the draft from the cracked window. She had memorized them now. Every date, every false report, every lie. Her entire life, crafted like a story, edited, annotated, tested. The closer she got, the clearer it all became. This was not just about her. It never had been. She was part of something larger. Controlled generation. An experiment disguised as ordinary lives. The GPS chirped. 1 more hour. 57 miles. Then the engine sputtered. Puff. Wait. The car rolled to a quiet stop. No lights. No movement. Just trees, dense and pressing. Fuel gone. No signal. No sign of help. Mira stepped out into the cold. The wind bit at her cheeks. The folder under her arm felt heavier than ever. In the distance, light, faint and flickering, like a candle burning in the dark. She moved toward it. Branches snapped underfoot. The forest thickened, then opened into a narrow clearing. An old building stood at the center. Wooden, abandoned, or so it seemed. She crept closer. The light came from inside. A single room illuminated. Through a cracked window she saw movement. Figure. Standing. Waiting. She raised her hand to knock. But the door creaked open before she touched it. Inside. A room lined with screens. Old tech. Surveillance monitors. Flickering with grainy images. A man sat in the corner. Face lit by the glow of a monitor. His eyes lifted to meet hers. Not startled. Not surprised. As if he had been expecting her for years. "You made it," he said. His voice was dry, measured, sharp like broken glass. Mira did not speak. She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. The man gestured to one of the screens. It showed a live feed. A mountain facility. Snow-covered. Cold. Helix. "I worked there once," he said. "Until I saw what they were really doing." He turned to her slowly. "You are not the only one, Mira. There are others." She blinked. Her throat tightened. "How many?" He leaned back, eyes hard. "At least 40. All with false names. False memories. All of them activated." Myra's heart thudded like thunder. "Activated for what?" His voice lowered. "For the next phase. And it begins tomorrow." Mira stepped closer to the screen. Snow whipped across the camera lens. Helix loomed beneath it. Steel walls buried in ice. A fortress pretending to be research. She glanced at the man. Lines etched deep across his face. Eyes haunted by what they had seen. "What is the next phase?" she asked. Her voice was barely above a whisper. He tapped a key. A second screen lit up. Data. Locations. Phase 2 is activation, he said. They planted something inside each subject. A sequence. A code. Once triggered, it changes behavior. Wipes identity. Implants obedience. Myra's stomach turned. She stared at the list. Her name was there. Marked in red. Beside it. Unstable. To be terminated if non-compliant. Her breath caught. A weight pressed on her chest. "Why me?" she asked. "Why unstable?" The man stood. Crossed to a locked drawer. Pulled out a thick envelope. Handed it to her. She opened it slowly. Inside. Photos. X-rays. Medical reports. One report showed her brain. Highlighted areas glowed. Marked with numbers and strange symbols. "You resisted," he said. "You were the only one who rejected the second sequence. They did not know why. But they watched you, waiting to reset you. Mira clenched her fists. All this time, her quiet life, her awkwardness, even her fears, were part of something mechanical, deliberate. How do we stop it? She asked. He turned to a panel, flipped a switch. One final screen blinked on. A live feed from inside Helix. Chamber. Occupied. Children. 10 of them. Lined up. Silent. Ill. Monitors beeped behind them. Numbers climbing. Vitals. Brainwaves. They are starting with a new group, the man said. Perfected versions of what they did to you. Programmed from birth. They will not resist. Mira stared at the children. Their eyes empty. Waiting for command. Her voice broke. How do I get in? The man looked at her for a long time. Then reached under the desk. Pulled out a small black case. Inside. Helix ID badge. Her photo. But the name was not Mira. It was Dr. Kira Voss. He met her eyes. They built you for obedience. But they also built you for access. You were meant to return. She took the badge. Her fingers curled tightly around it. She knew what she had to do. Not just uncover the truth. Not just escape. She had to burn Helix to the ground. The badge felt heavy in her hand. Not in weight, but in meaning. Curvus. A name that fit like a puzzle piece she had never known was missing. She looked at the photo. Her face but colder. Sharper. Lips unsmiling. Eyes blank. She turned to the man. What else did they make me forget? He hesitated, then pressed a button beneath the desk. Panel in the wall slid open. Inside. Metal chair. Traps. A visor attached to wires. A memory trace unit, he said. Illegal now. But effective. It can trigger residual recall. If you are willing to see it. Myra's pulse quickened. The thought of more truth made her sick. But not knowing was worse. She stepped into the chamber. Saturday. The straps snapped into place. The visor lowered. Darkness. Then a pulse of light. She gasped. Suddenly. She was standing in a bright room. Mirrors all around. A white coat on her body. People watching her. Clapping. A man approached. Smiling. Proud. You are the future, Kira. The prototype that worked. The one who will lead them. He touched her shoulder. He smiled back. Not shy. Not scared. Confident. Cold. Mira screamed. The memory dissolved. She was back in the chair. Tears on her cheeks. Sweat soaking her collar. The man pulled the visor off. Now you understand, he said. You were not just a victim. You were their design. Mira staggered to her feet. I am not her anymore, she said. I do not care what they made me. The man nodded. Then it is time. He opened a trunk on the floor. Inside. Parka. Thermal gloves. Climbing gear. And a pistol. You will need to go in through the mountain, he said. They know every face. Every approach. But they do not expect one of their own. Mira dressed quickly. Her body moved on instinct. As if it remembered before her mind could. At the door, the man handed her a final object. Small black cube. One signal. Push this when it is time. I will do the rest. What will it do? She asked. He gave a bitter smile. It will erase them. Everything. Every file, every lab, every memory they tried to rewrite. Mira stepped out into the cold. Snowflakes touched her skin like sparks. In the distance, the mountain rose like a sleeping beast. And within it, the truth waited. So did the children. And her past. But now, she was not running. She was going home to destroy it. Snow crunched beneath Myra's boots as she scaled the final ridge. Wind howled through the peaks, sharp as broken glass. Below her, Helix. The compound sprawled across the mountain like a scar. Steel, concrete, and silence. She pressed her ID badge to the side gate. A green light blinked. Access granted. Inside, the hallways smelled of bleach and cold metal. Monitors blinked to life as she passed. Her reflection stared back in every polished surface. But it was not Mira anymore. And not quite Kira either. She moved with purpose. Memories guiding her. Instincts buried deep now awakening. In the core chamber she found them. The children, lined up like statues, is blank, waiting for the command that would strip them of humanity. She stepped into the room. The system recognized her. Voice print, biometrics, clearance level, alpha. A voice echoed overhead. Clinical. Dr. Voss, activation sequence ready. Proceed with confirmation. Mira stared at the console. One button. One word, execute. Her hand hovered, then moved, past the button, toward the small black cube in her coat. She pressed it. Far below, a pulse surged through the foundation. Systems flickered. Security lights snapped red. Warning sirens howled like wolves. The screens went dark. The glass walls cracked. And then, silence. The children blinked, looked around, confused. Human again. Mira exhaled slowly. She turned to leave, but stopped. A figure stepped from the shadows. Dr. Laren Hart, white coat, cold smile. You always were the unpredictable one, he said. But even you cannot rewrite your origin. Mira met his gaze. I do not need to rewrite it. I just ended it. She raised the pistol, fired once. Hart dropped. Silence returned. She walked through the smoke and alarms. Guided the children out one by one. By sunrise, the mountain was still. No more experiments, no more lies. Down in the valley, the first light broke across the trees. And for the first time in her life, Mira walked into the world not as a subject, not as a creation, but as herself, unwritten, unchained, free.